There we go. Okay. Kicked it in a little early. Figured why not? Everybody kind of get comfortable and everything. There we are. And there's David. There's Robert. There's Dennis. There's Hillbilly Bob and Tony. So it's been hot. For all of you not in Arizona, don't come yet. Yesterday was 116. Today is a mild and pleasant 111. It is hot, and there's a thing on my computer screen that says heat warning. And you don't have to warn me; you can just look outside. Uh, this last week, we never do have to miss. Well, I would rather be at Bear Canyon Lake, but you can always watch it. We record it, and then it's there. You can go to the YouTube channel and you can watch it after the fact. So it's always there after the fact. So there's no missing it. Anyhow, welcome to this week in the heat. There's no beat in the heat, but yeah, it was. Hey Tony, I think I said hi. Hey Tony, I said yeah, I said hey to Tony, but yeah, it's just been gruelingly hot in the last few days and surviving. So, but it is Friday. Tomorrow won't be that much cooler, I don't think. I think we don't get much relief till the end of next week. I'm thinking. Let's see, 111, 107, 107, 109, 107. Next Thursday's 100, and then 99 Friday, 97 next Saturday. So in about a week, we will get some slight relief. And 97 will feel real good after this. So we broke a record. I think it was a 100-year record. So for 100 years, it hadn't been on that particular day. It hadn't been 116. So we continue to survive. And there's been worse. It just is, it is what it is. So, but I see it as could be worse. And we're starting to get to the end of the summer. We're starting to, a few more weeks, and we'll see that silver lining. The end. We'll see the end. It will be. I finished a turquoise shop, and the owner gave me a nice bolo tie. Bolo ties are very nice. Oh, your first bolo tie? I thought everybody had a bolo tie. Well, if you grew up or you lived in Arizona and you grew up out here, everybody had a bolo tie. We had nothing but 70s here. You don't do that to us. We'll send ours your way. Anyhow, I am sitting now in the cool, relaxing air conditioning here live on YouTube. So it's good. The mic here won't work. So I don't know what happened. That was last week. It went out. I wanted to switch it with a better mic. So it might be time to do that. Get a little better setup. I'm on the camera microphone today. So if someone complains, it's a little harder to hear. It's because I'm further from that mic. I'm another 1.5 feet from that mic. Just is what it is, and there's no way to adjust that mic. I don't think. I've never seen anything in there, controls or whatever, but we've wanted to kind of upgrade a few of those things in the system. So we'll see what happens. This week I managed to pick up a few more books. Howard Clark's Lost Mines of the Old West. Haven't read it yet. I briefed through it. It looked okay. So, had some different stories. Has The Lost Dutchman and a few others. A couple different versions of Peg Leg. I think it came out in the 40s. Is that it? No, maybe not. Maybe in the 50s. But nice little book. Handy dandy book. I found a nice clean copy of Center's Gold, which will probably go to the Rendezvous. I already have several copies. One of my favorite books by Helen Corbin. One of the best books she wrote. So that was kind of nice. Then I always find little bits and pieces of things. Someone gave me this. Don't know. It was a paleontologist. And it's a little part of a map, topographic map of the superstitions with some things marked on it. So I'm taking it to where he's saying there's dinosaur bones or some sort of ruins. There was no explanation. It was just I was told paleontologist, someone who knew a paleontologist, and he wanted them to get that to me. And then there's this other, the Rams map. I think everybody's seen this one. So I found one of those laying around and a bunch of stuff. Which those are kind of not super accurate, but they don't have a lot of stuff on them. Anyhow, so it's been but it's been a quiet week. Of course, we had Jason Fritz's is Cracking the Code Lost Dutchman book, which is handy, and it's actually over here. I should have had it down, but we've been kind of talking about it. Jason's book, available at the Superstition Mountain Museum. He went down. Jason's a good guy, really nice guy. He's out there trying to hustle. I think he's hustling too much to give his books away. Someone needs to start buying his books. Put some money back in his coffers. And then the other book we talked about was Glenn Rogers, who was actually here, who did speak with us a bit, showed up a few places, and then he disappeared. We haven't pulled this one apart or anything. We will eventually. I've talked about doing a little thing, doing it on books and kind of critiquing them a little. But yes, so those are the two of them. Even the Glenn's book is not that new. It's been around a bit. And then I found a couple copies. I didn't know I had this, The Killer Mountains. This paperback is from the mid-70s, and it has a little kind of epilogue on it that was added to it with Mike Colazzi and his time in the mountains with Glenn McGill. And then I've got a bunch of these Robert Joseph Allen's. Book that has interesting things in it, and generally overall I would not recommend anyone till they learn to be discerning, because that is a confusing book that will throw you off the deep. It's a rabbit hole book. But there you go. Now that you've vegan or vegetarian food a shot, will you agree Dr. Pepper? Zero chance. No. I'm not gonna give Dr. Pepper. You foolish. No. And the vegetarianism, it's what we had. We had baked ziti. We had stuffed peppers. Most of the food was pretty good. I didn't have the vegan would kill me, because long as I don't have to leave out sour cream cheese and stuff, I can get by. But the problem is, Trevor didn't lose a pound. I gained a pound. I mean, we didn't seem to eat much. We ate very tolerant because it's summer and I don't eat as much during the summer. I was like, no, this isn't making sense. None of it made sense in the end. I didn't feel any more energy, didn't feel any better, didn't sleep better, just nothing changed at all. I didn't feel hungry at night, but I usually don't feel hungry. I managed, I got through it, realized the difficulties with vegan, which was like, I was just like, man, how everything I kind of like in some of this stuff or got me through the week at certain days. If I eliminate that, oh man. So we even talked about processed foods, non-processed foods, which is we ate a lot of non-processed food, and that was fine. But is it doable? Yeah. Do I want my steak tomorrow? Yes. Did I have a couple tacos today with beef in them? Yes, because I was over it. So I had just eggs this morning, but yes. I had a couple tacos today, and it didn't really seem to feel any better or different. It wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe this tastes so good. It just tasted good. It tastes like a taco. So I'm good. Jesse's book explains a lot of history of the Pima and Apache, according to Jesse Feldman. It's been a good book so far. Which book is that? Is that the Dutchman's Trail? I'm hoping. Because that one runs a little clear. So Jesse did a nice job. Yeah, I thought that book flowed much better. So, and And I have both the Dutchman's Trail, Jacob's Trail, and I have them in softback, and then I have them in hardback. So yeah, they're good books. Jesse's a good guy. Put a lot of time. The last one he wrote, okay, that would have been the Dutchman's Trail, because I think the first one's Jacob's Trail. Same cover, basically. Yeah, I wish he would have changed the cover. It helped, but he just barely changed the title. But the insides of the book is completely different, so huge difference. So that being done, said and done, but that's a good book. It's still available at the museum. Museum is closed. Superstition Mountain and Lost Dutchman Museum is closed till the 18th of August. They're doing some remodeling and all that. I spoke to the executive director, Eileen Snooty, yesterday, and we talked about it. And so that'll be closed, reopened either on the 18th or after the 18th. So there you go. He found a nice chunk of ore unplugged. He never saw it again. Well, that's because did they really find a nice chunk of ore on Planet's television show? Um, there's a lot of things we never saw again. We never saw the mine where they almost perished in the hazmat suits. There's a lot of things on that show. Let's just not do it. We would refer to it as the Josh Feldman show and say it's good that Josh is getting paid. Josh, not Jesse. Josh is getting paid very well, and he's very happy doing it, and be supportive of it. And I will continue to record it and watch it to help him along his way. The rest of the guys, I don't know. The production team, my God, my mind is blown. Um, hope to work on it. Hope to work on what? I don't know. What is that deal with those Heartstones? I remember, yeah, I still have that one in the garage. Okay, I'm trying to figure. See, I'm trying to jump around. Hope to work on it. Okay, but anyways, that Heartstone, that's the one we found that was under that big rock. I had no idea it was there. And then we followed it. According to Frank's hunch, found a blaze. We found a silver thing. Well, I think it was part of Ward's weird little games he'd play with people. And there's no other reason for it, but it was manipulated, and it was probably had something of a heart kind of shape to it. And then you could tell someone manipulated it, got it to make it be more of a heart. And then that was kind of weird. Um, Trevor had to haul that out for us. He wasn't too happy, but it was a heavy rock. But yeah, I still have that. I have one out of a large box too that someone found in a cave that had been buried. So we got several of those. Don't know if they're interrelated or anything, but yeah, that one was very interesting. Nothing carved or written on it or nothing, just its placement because it was placed in the hole in that cavity, and it had three rocks under it just to keep it from laying on the bottom, to keep it kind of off the ground. It was just oddly placed, and Franks could not believe he found that there, especially since we'd been there so many times and we never thought about flipping that rock over or anything. We talked about why do these people stack these rocks up here and why is these rocks stacked, and that was so weird. And then he just decided to mess with this one, and then he finds there's a cavity under it. It was really strange. I watched Ryan Gordon and Franks on the Tomlinsons. I mentioned a skeleton and a pistol that were found by Pegleg. Has anyone found them in pile? No, but who knows what Pegleg was talking about and all that. Um, no, there's a series of those videos. I don't know. Don't have much to do with that. That was a black hole of decay those guys went into. Everybody was, while we did get information and we got Travis's manuscript, which showed us a lot. We got a lot of information on how he made the maps, manipulated the maps, and did a lot of things. And it kind of like settled a lot of things for most people. If you're a firm, diehard stone map believer, it didn't change anything. But I will say, and remember, there was a lot still going on there. But in the end, um, that didn't go well. So the whole thing, what we got out of it was beneficial to a degree, but there was a lot of harm in that went on with that. That's unfortunate. There could have been much better relationships forged. There could have been something way better come out of all that, and because of people involved, it didn't. And it's that's the way it is. There's Joshua. How's it going? Well, it's going. It's hot and it's going. But yeah, I remember when Frank went to that and he did all that. But then once Frank was of no use, because he was used as the introductory pawn. So he was used to get the introduction because the family there knew our show and they were really excited to meet Frank. And Frank kind of fit with them. They really thought Frank's quite the character. So that worked. And then once that introduction was made and things were done, then everything with Frank on all that went south bad. That seemed to be the pattern. I spoke to someone else about some of that, their involvement with things with them, and how that went very badly. Anyways, this week I talked to Shoes and talked to Frank. Wished Larry Hedrick a happy birthday. Talked to Larry Akins, talked to Greg Baxter, talked to Greg Davis, talked to Eileen Snooty at the museum. I did talk to Harry Bascom. Who else did I talk to? Talked to quite a few people through the week. So it was a lot of different phone calls, going through some stuff and all. And that's, it's always good on the long phone calls because it works things out, because usually you're done and then a lot of things get in your head that you start remembering or connecting to other things, and it reminds you of things you need to pull out and do. It's always good, those long conversations. What was the purpose of the courtyard in the cave? Bob Ward's. Yeah, that's a weird cave. I don't know. Tom Collenborn said there was a guy. I'm trying to remember his name now. I knew his name. He lived down there. He ran a zip line down there, and he was working a mine down there, or looking for a mine. God, I can't remember his name. But he was down in there and working. Him and his wife, and I don't know if his kids were, but he used some of the neighbor kids to help out, and they were down in there just hoping his name comes. It's a Gonzalez, but anyways, he was down there and he was working, looking for gold and treasure and stuff, and he utilized it. We don't know if he formed or built it. That probably might have even got put together sometime during the time period when the Fish Creek Lodge was down there and all that. So there's a lot of interesting things in caves and different things back in there. I remember there was a lot with Mitch Waite dug out and looked through there and different stuff. So that it's a really cool area. It's pretty, and when the weather's really nice and there's cloud cover, it's a really nice area to explore. Wayne from Sebastian, Florida. Hey, Gerard. Hey, do you like Dr. Pepper Pickle? No, I like Dr. Pepper. Do not flavor my stuff. Don't flavor my coffee. Don't flavor. I don't want peanut butter whiskey. I want whiskey or bourbon, and I want Dr. Pepper. I do not like things flavored too much. If I sip something and I don't expect the taste that I'm expecting, and it's something like a fruity coffee, I will pour it out and ask, is there black coffee over there? Hey Wayne, been binge watching the channel today. Well, when you go into the mines, you get Frank's detector. Occasionally, I get a pinpointer usually on me. Um, One of the problems in a lot of places is because of the iron content. If there's a lot of iron, if we check the tailing piles and all, it's just useless, because if you try to take the detector in there, it's just going to be pointing off of everything because of the iron content in the rocks. We had that problem with the area where Frank and Woody were in Hewitt, where my pinpointer, just everything was a hot rock, and so you couldn't use the pinpointer in looking for any gold in this one wall. So that happens. So, and then he has finely tuned, very expensive metal detectors. We have a couple cheaper ones we'll bring out and play with, but yeah, generally I'll take the pinpointer and stuff. Mainly, we're always looking to grab samples of something that looks good, run the pinpointer, film, take pictures, kind of look at the layout, look at what they were looking, see if we can find a vein. Other times we don't want to mess with the vein too much because of the stability of the mines. Um, we don't want to be hammering around and messing with it. We want it to be stay as stable as possible. Sometimes you can find there was an archive for the U.S. government where it would show you all the mining records for a lot of mines, and it's changed, and I can't get into it anymore. They've changed the web address, but that one was absolutely awesome because it showed you, it would actually display all the paperwork filed with the United States government on the assay reports. So on a lot of mines, it was cool to be able to get the assay reports of when they were digging over different periods of time of different ownership. Um, that you thought with Dead Body, right? I don't know what Dead Body, isn't that the place you found the bone? That was Fish Creek. Yes, we found that bone, Bob's bone. We call Bob. Coffee hot and black. Yes, coffee should just be hot and black. No milk, no sugar, just make it hot and black. I like the taste of that, and I don't like it sweet. I don't like it. Otherwise, I've had the Starbucks something chocolate frappuccino, something with whipped cream and stuff. One time, it was like an oddly, slightly coffee flavored freaking milkshake, and I had that the one time. Maybe had it twice. I think the first time I drank about half of it. The second time, probably similar, and I was done with it. It was just too much sugar, too sweet. It wasn't coffee. So if I want coffee, I just want hot coffee, and I just make it and put it in my thermos, and I just take it hot. Clay thought that Walt found the while hunting the Doc Thorne mine. I think Clay's mind changed over the years, and he had different thoughts. Doc Thorne doesn't seem to fit into the equation much. Um, I don't know. Clay thought the mine. Well, he thought it was real. Um, one of the things you can't discuss now because Clay doesn't have a position or an armchair to sit in and defend or talk about it to clarify it is, and it's just Clay publicly was different to me than Clay privately. And I'm not saying he had two different outlooks, but he always would listen to things, and that was the discussions I like to have with him. What of this? What of that? And those were very kind of quiet conversations about, what if this isn't really, valid in any way. And we talked about some of those things of how it changes certain things and aspects. Um, I know one of the last just conversations we had was about how much time were they planning when Julia, Reinhardt, and Waltz were going to go in the mountains? How long was it going to take them, and how long did they plan to be in the mountains? How much time and distance were they planning? And shouldn't that be something we're more chasing and hoping the Spangler family has Jim Bark's notes, or there's something somewhere that gives us an idea of how much time they were looking to spend. If they were just looking to go to his camp, stay the night, and come out, and you look at the three, two on horseback, one walking, it's a shorter distance. So you have to change the relevance of where you think they're going. Definitely back then. And we talked about that a bit of how it wasn't so much as a game changer, it's something you have to keep in the back of your mind and always follow. Hope someday we get that information because I'm sure it's there. There's no way I feel that Jim Bark did not say, okay, you're riding from Waltz's place. It's going to take you a good day to get out there. You'll camp. The next morning you'll get up. Hey, Jax. And then the next day, hey, Rock. The next day we're going to get up. We're going to go to the camp. And then, blah, blah, blah. There was a plan in place because Reinhardt's carrying supplies. He's carrying all the supplies on his back for whatever they're going to eat. I'm sure there's just some pots and pans. It couldn't have been too much. So Waltz is an old elderly man with some health issues, probably. What we know at that point, Julian Reinhardt were not mountain desert rats by no means. So we have to take all that into account in effect. And that's, I would be surprised that Jim Barker, Sim Seeley did not have those conversations. But that's information that would probably lend yourself to more where the mind would be. It's like, there's a lot of information simply like where Julia's trips to the mountains were. It's funny how much people don't know about the number of different trips and where she was in the mountains. Yet Tom Collenborn's dad, George, was friends with Herman Petrach, and he was very aware, and Bob Garman had a lot of information. The information's there, but how many people just tend to ignore that? Where Julie and them were searching and what was happening in those situations, and some of the who and how and whys. I found Tomlinson's old claim that Hewitt, there was a bunch of them with Garmin, and on the other side of a newer one, wrought iron, pretty cool. Yeah, Frank was out there. He wanted to go out and look at some of that stuff. There's a couple ruins Frank wanted to go check out too and stuff. So, yeah, Tomlinson was out there for a while. Both Travis and Robert, and then Bob Garman. And Bob Garman, I think, was the driving force on a lot of that in Hewitt and stuff. And that's a really strange thing with Garman. He really liked Hewitt. So I think he was a driving force of putting them in certain areas. Do you know where Jim Bark found the monuments, trail, and ironwood stumps? Yeah, that was wasn't it horse country? It should be, yeah, it should be. It should be mapped out. You should be able to find it. Check out Jack Carlson's book, Hiking Guide, and Elizabeth Stewart. I think it's all listed in there. The cooler monuments were the ones found by John Burbridge. I think those are all thrown down and none of them are existence, but he took pictures of them. And you can kind of line up and see where some of those were. But that's Lost Monuments to Mines or something by John Burbridge. It's kind of more of a pamphlet, but John Burbridge found a lot of monuments back in there, and he actually took pictures and printed that book out, and or pamphlet, however you want to do it. So, is it still looking good for the sale of some of the manuscript reprints at the Rendezvous? I'm waiting for the museum to get to Greg because that's a museum thing. I'm wondering if Greg and I should just make, because it's not hard, is just take and well, I probably could, is just make 4 or 5 reprints of some of the different ones, and then just have them available for people. Um, just because I just think it's cool and it gives people an opportunity. I don't know what the museum. I really wanted the museum to do it, but I think got they got so much tied up of what they're trying to do and trying to straighten out and directions they're trying to go. And I will say this: Eileen Snooty is a very nice lady. She's being too nice. My attitude to her was I would be kind of a little more of just putting a finger out there and pushing it, getting some things done because sometimes the best turnaround is the one that hurts and is the hard turnaround. Sometimes you go out and you go and do something that you're going to feel a much more ramification immediately, but it gets things going the right direction much quicker in the direction you want to be. Um, did you ever hear from the guy who relieved himself? Yes, the crematory. Yes, he showed up at not last rendezvous, the one before. We were leaving this Sunday morning, Ralph, and I just packed up, and we were getting ready to pull out, and I turned from the truck and I looked over and I saw Ralph standing there, and I was like, Ralph, you're dead. It's like that was totally a freak, kind of weird. He looked the same, and I was like, I had some problems and all. But I haven't seen him since then. But yeah, that was totally like mind blowing that we thought he's got health problems. We haven't seen him for 4 or 5 years. Damn that. Yeah, it was Joe. I see Josh saying that it was Joe, not Bob. You always say Bob, but yeah, it says well, it's because yeah, well we can call it. It's my wife's dad's name. That would be your father-in-law. Okay, did you ever hear? Yeah, but yeah, I haven't heard back from him since. Yeah, but that's Ralph. I'm not Ralph Henderson, who's the editor and owner of the newspaper, but another Ralph. What's the story behind Tom C. Statue of the Lost Dutchman? There's a photo of him. Tom C. Who's Tom C? You mean Tom K? I don't know about the statue. Are you talking the one in Apache Junction downtown at the crossroads? You have to, Robert, you'll have to type in real fast and get that cleared to me because I don't know who Tom C is. I'm thinking you're meaning Tom Corbin. If you're talking a lot, are you talking about the one they hid in the mountains that they had to move, like the whiskey, because they're not allowed to hide stuff in the mountains? Because that's one. Was that AJ Basha or someone like that? There's that one. And then there's also the Monument Memorial in Apache Junction. And the story behind the one was they wanted them to pack it in and put it someplace, and then they were told once they, okay, yes, that one, Tom K, okay. But yeah, the one in the wilderness was just they put it in there, and then once they put out the thing about giving the clues, they were told, no, you can't do that. And then they had to go back and get it and move it. Hey, there's Kim Johnson. We were talking about you. Your ears have been burning. What's up? We are getting the hell out of that heat, heading up. Yeah, I hear you. You see, you keep going up, hanging out with like the hillbillies. So there you are, man. Kim, you gotta like come back and hang with the Dutch hunters and the desert rats and sit with us, just staring off into the heat and the mirage and all that. So, but no, good for you. Get out of the heat. I have to work in the heat, so I don't have a choice. But tell Chris I said hi too. The one they couldn't hide, and yeah, that one, yes. I was just curious about that one. Yeah, I didn't know too much about it. Tom told stories about it. It was just they put it in there and then they were told not. It's pretty much the same as the whiskey. That one I don't think he told anybody where it was. Now the whiskey, Tom used to always laugh and joke and talk about how when they did the whiskey they did the same thing. She says, "Hi back." Okay. Um, Tom said when they had the whiskey and they put the whiskey out, it was a there's this thing where you go, hey, I'll tell you this, you give me some of this, I'll split the reward with that. That happens with Dutch hunters a lot on a lot of things. It's like the common Dutch hunter code. It's like, hey, I got a lot of information on this, but I'm too close to it, so I can't touch it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you, and any new information I'll pass to you, and then when you find it, we'll split. That's generally, well, that was one of those deals, and someone found it, and they had to give bottles away because not the kindness of his heart, but because too many people knew, and so people got stuff, and they put a plaque. But Tom thought it was so funny because I can remember Tom was at the Rendezvous once. He was talking about it, and the punchline was he told the whole story. And then when he was done, and I know this gets Larry bent out of shape, but it was so funny because then Tom starts laughing his laugh and goes, and then on top of it all, they put a plaque. And he thought that was so funny. He's like, Larry got it, and they had to split it. It was all contrived. I think Larry has a couple bottles left. I know Greg has one. Tom had one. There are two. But yeah, so there you go. Was it Hiram Walker? Who was that? Canadian Club? Canadian Club or Seagrams? Maybe one of those two. Anyways, yes, that was one of those. We always talk about it around campfires because that was always funny, and Tom just loved that. That was one of those funny stories. It was like, so, but there's the plausible deniability since the other people that knew are dead and all. I'm sure in journals and other places there's a lot of things written kind of similar to that. So Canadian Club, yeah, there was, but that was, yeah, but that was a common thing. I know there's a number of different stories of where it was. I know this, but I can't say nothing. So what I'll do is I'll tell you, and then you can go find it. And this is how they would plan it out, so it didn't seem too obvious. So that's how that worked. Here's Joshua, who decided to type a lot of words. Hey Wayne, what makes a treasure site or mine or cache that's been found by a man so hard to find again, like every story you've ever heard about treasure and gold? Would it be the most of it is bullshit? Um, no, I mean, a lot of stuff's hard to find. Here, I think what happens is people try to do things and put things, and then like the guy that was doing the drilling the trees and putting the coins in the tree. It's a good idea, and then you die, and then nobody knows. I think a lot of the treasures, a lot of stuff that gets hidden is people hid stuff, and then just nobody knew where the stuff was hidden. Um, because they didn't tell anybody. That one story I did, God, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Was it Idaho Bill, Idaho Bob? Anyways, I'm stuck on the Bobs today. But that one perfectly made sense. That the gang, he wasn't, whatever his share was, where he was hiding stuff, his own shares and stuff, he wasn't going to tell them where it was. So whatever he was hiding when he was doing stuff, or his shares, none of them would know where any of it was. So that's always important. Come on in, say hello.
I'm gonna get changed because I have something for you.
You have something for me? Was it an official thing and you had to sign for it and I'm being subpoenaed? I don't know. He's all serious now. He comes home from work and he's wearing he has his sunglasses now, so he comes in all like Mr. FBI. Okay. Oh, no, he goes the other way. Hiding treasure in plain sight makes it hard to find. That's absolutely true too. Sometimes the easiest, um, and that's what happened with Bob Ward. He did stuff that he thought was easy and simple, but then everybody makes everything so complex, and that's always my argument with a lot of treasure is it can't be that complex. If it gets too complex, it makes no sense because no one's going to be able to figure it out. I'm not saying people back in the day were dumb, just saying if you just make it way too tricky, there's a problem with people who are really smart overthinking it and overshooting it and thinking, well, the reason nobody's found it is because you need to be brilliant like me, and then they just overthink it, and then it just becomes they're never going to find anything. A lot of times things are pretty simple and pretty close. Doesn't make sense as far as even though Tom and Bob Corbin kind of figured the Center's Gold stuff had went over the cliff probably. They searched and searched and never found anything. They never found anything down in the canyon, but I would agree that maybe he was going out with the stuff and that's when it all happened. Who knows? Watch and Razor Founder, what I consider treasures. Those are always cool. Everything's a little different. Oh, he's coming in with books. He knows how much I like books.
So, the library, they're getting rid of all the books.
Uh-oh, I need
So
to go visit. Is that John D. Mitchell?
Which one?
That one. You got your left hand on, right hand on.
No, this is W.C. Jameson's Buried Treasures of the American Southwest.
Cool.
This one's Mysteries and Legends, Arizona. True Stories of the Unsolved and Unexplained by Sam Lowe.
Sam Lowe.
It does have The Lost Dutchman in it. I did see. It's on here somewhere.
Arizona.
And then this one, I don't know if it has anything interesting, but it looked like a really cool, expensive, interesting book. Arizona Recollections.
It looks cool. Eddie Bash is in there. So it's a bunch of people that were here. It looks like Barry Goldwater's in it.
Yes, they're getting rid of all of them, and they told people to just start taking them. So
why aren't you taking all the Arizona history books? Was this it?
Well, there's probably more, but it's not like, I don't know. Some of them are
Cool.
silly, or I'll look through more of them. I
Yeah.
just saw those ones. Those ones jumped
Yeah,
out
it's
at me
sad
today.
this kind of stuff's not there anymore, isn't
No,
it?
there's nothing like that.
Lost Dutchman, that stuff's missing and gone.
But yeah, these were the ones that stuck out to me the most, and I was like, yeah,
Cool.
I still got all the tags and stuff on them.
See, that's the shame, is because when I was a kid, you would go in and you'd see Sims Ely's book, Barry Storm's book. You would see some of a couple like Tom Collenborn's book in the library, in the high school library. Now you don't even see Jesse Feldman's book or anybody like that's book.
No,
That's a shame, because you don't. There's not even the older books are gone, but now even the newer books. Even though City of Surprise still does have a couple good books in there. But yeah, most all the books are not even available in the libraries unless you go to Burton Bar in Phoenix. Robert said, "What's up, Trevor?"
Hey.
One of the best is about the bird taxidermist. That was a cool story, because that was one of those ones like, that was a weird twist and turn. Always about who was with Walt. Was anybody actually with him when he died? Probably Julia was with him. Though, watch him raise her cake. Considered treasure. Howdy, treasure. Is that Ed Sheeran?
Yeah, I'm Ed Sheeran.
Someday we'll have to play the video of Trevor singing "Staying Alive."
No.
Yeah, Trevor had man. He went high on that too. He kind of got there. I don't know if you could hit those notes no more.
I don't know which. I thought it was this book right here. One of them said something about the Lost Dutchman, but I think it might be in one of these. This one has Ira Hayes, Hotel Vendome, Cecil Creswell.
That's kind of weird. This is kind of weird because it's Lost Treasures of the American Southwest. It's Arizona, New Mexico, California, or no, not California, Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. I do not believe Arkansas.
This one's got James Addison Revis.
That's stretching.
Apache Leap. Pearl Heart.
That's by Pick a Post.
The Red Ghost. Teresa Urea. Mysterious Grand Canyon Deaths. The Apache Kid. Gabrielle Darley. And then Arizona's Lost Treasures.
Oh, people can go back and collect stuff. I've always said, if you find something significant and you need burros, go down and do the adopt a burro. Trevor's heard me talk about this. Do the adopt a burro, go out, load your burros up, bring them out, load your truck up, turn the burros back loose out into the wilderness, and then go home. Lost Legends of Arizona by Sweet and Low. That's Sam Low. Sam Low was columnist, I believe, in Arizona. Let's see. It'll have something here. We think. Yeah, he was the columnist, Arizona Highways, Arizona Republic. I remember I used to read his column. So it gave me a few Arizona history books. There you go. We got a whole bunch of Arizona history books, but that's kind of cool. The Sam Low. Arkansas is a good place to find diamonds. Yes, I've heard of that. I just find it odd that we equate Arkansas with the Southwest. But we skip Nevada, Utah, and California. I kind of thought, I always think the Southwest is Utah, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, and Western Texas. That's what I always think the Southwest is. I guess I'm wrong. What's your thoughts on the Salt River horses? They constantly want to remove them. They constantly want to get rid of them. Most of them are not really true wild horses. They just drifted off from the res, and they've been wild for years out there and breeding. It's just going to be something every 10 years they're going to come up. I remember 2011, 2012, there was a big push to get them out, and people fought back and had big deals. And yes, it's just the horses are out. I don't know. It's just kind of, there's going to be a point where nobody can win. You don't have the wild horses. remember the time at Wild Horse Pass is still the casino's named Wild Horse Pass, and you used to have the wild horses running through there. And I did I was a kid when we'd run to the property in Maricopa, and we used to have to sit there on the highway and wait for the horses to cross the highways. And those are all gone. So it's just going to be a thing of the past. At least there is a Wild Horse Pass, and he makes you go, this is why it's named this. But the Salt River horses, I have a feeling, will be a thing of the past. It's unfortunate, but they are a thing of the past on Horse Mesa, and they are a thing of the past in the proper superstitions, and it's just going to be time and place. Um, I don't know. I don't see where it's not like they're murdering people. Well, I guess when people hit them with cars, so. But my thoughts are just leave them be. Um, but it's never going to be left be because every 8, 9 years they're going to go back to trying to get rid of them or neutering them or doing whatever they're doing. They're always going to go back and forth. You're going to have your advocates for and against and whatever. Okay. Hope all's well. Okay. Some rain. We're not getting any rain. I can tell you that. I hate to not rain on your parade, but that's not happening. Lacey and I love going to the diamond mine up here. Haven't found anything though. Okay. I lived in Louisiana. I don't consider myself consider it the Southwest, but I do love this. Yeah, Arkansas. Yeah, it is weird, but who knows? Title of the book. That's confusing for a kid who doesn't know geography, isn't it? Yeah, we'll go through Arkansas and then stop in New Mexico. What? It's a long ways apart. Yeah, we had original Reader's Digest with the 19th Island article. Da, 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 da. Okay, cool. And that would be Lost Treasure of the Southwest before the Louisiana Purchase. The Outer Banks of North Carolina used to have wild horses, but people kept running into them. And that happens even here in rural areas. I know in East Valley out past Scottsdale, there's a few places there's signs where I work, and you have to be careful because the horses will get loose, or there's some loose horses in the area. They're not necessarily wild, and you have to be very careful about the horses getting loose on the roads because there's no street lights or anything. But that seemed to be done. Very cool. Give me some more reading material because I was starting to revisit some of the reading material I had on hand. Um, well, we're whacking it through. Not necessarily whacking it, but we're getting our way through. Monday's Chasing Legends should be a good one for all of you. One that I'm kind of looking at some things when it pings my mind, and then going into it saying, has anybody really talked about this? And then I go look through it through YouTube in different aspects and go, we've touched upon the subject matter, but no one's really done anything in depth to talk about it or any resources and stuff. And this will be one of those. So it'll be nice. It'll kind of be the history people, give them something to feed off of, and people who are treasure hunters and different things. But it'll be not so much a story, but it'll be a little more of educating everyone a bit and people having some food for thought. And also kind of showing the twist and turn of what you read, what you see, what you watch can change or create opinions that are non existent. So there you go. You don't get the preview. You don't get the thing of me falling down the cliff or something, preview. Yeah, I wish I like those, the way they over dramatize stuff. So, anyways, but yeah, very cool. Trick brought those in. And so I got a few more books to kind of work through and then pile up in piles. I need to win the lottery so I can buy a house with a giant room that I can have bookshelves with one of those little ladder things that slide along because I have books piled in boxes, books piled in piles, books piled under cabinets. I have thousands and thousands of books. And sometimes I want to figure, I can't figure out, but I'd like to figure out where some books are. And then I buy more books of the same book because I don't know where the book is, so I want to read the book. So that kind of makes me miserable. That's probably my worst problem I have. Could you post the link for the original LDM that you and Frank and Jim Hat used to be in? Okay, Jim Hat. Frank was never You're talking about the forums. The forum, um, the forum. If you look up, I'm going to do it right here. Um, Lost Dutchman forum. Okay, okay. I'm going to just put that up. And it's not the treasure net. I think it's the Lost Dutchman goldmine.com. Let's see. I think that's it. Frank was never a part of that. That preceded Frank. So Frank was never a part of that in any shape or form. Jim Hat never was Jim Hat in that one. He always went under. Yeah, that's it. Lost Dutchman Gold Mine. Um, and it'll look a little bit like that. I don't know if you can see it, but it has a little kind of, and they all the archive stuff has, I think it says count, so you can't. It's hard to separate unless we signed our post. It's hard to separate them, but that was the best one to get kicked into and get started on. I wish it was in its original format, and then it just got cluttered and too many problems with the First Amendment column and this and that. It kind of got stupid, and that was the ruination. I did talk to somebody who's here with us that'll smile that we talked, and I said, there is one common denominator of an individual that starts to go south and he gets banned and all you have these problems with him, and he's been at the end of it where every forum goes south and dies. And it's not because he leaves, it's because he is such a jerk about causing drama. So, but Frank was never part of the original Feldman forum. I don't think he ever, I don't know if he's ever looked at it. He saw Treasure Net. The other one was Desert USA. And the Desert USA forums was the one where Jim Hatt posted and Tom Collenborn posted in there and a few other people did. So that one was quite popular for a while. Then Jim Hatt died. Jim Hatt did post in Ron Feldman's Lost Dutchman Gold Mine forum, but he always went under an alias like Nancy or something, so it was funny. So Jim would do stuff and we go like, oh, and then everybody would quietly call each other and go, that's Jim Hatt. So it was funny. And it was weird because there was no competition between the forums. Just Jim had his platform at Desert USA where he could state his stuff. I got banned at Desert USA and I don't know what I did. I talked to Jim once about it. And I don't think Frank was ever in that one. I don't, because that was, Frank was not around in that. He was TreasureNet. He was like Sarge or something. But no, that one I don't think Frank was ever part of. I will ask Frank. I could be wrong, but I don't think he ever was in that. I do not remember him ever a part of it. Um, no, I don't remember a Sarge over there or anything even similar to that. That original forum. Let me make sure I'm not missing any stuff. Hitting them on the bench. I don't remember there. Horses will go away. The wild bison. I don't know. It's not so much that. And then Larry gets all worried that he waves and then he says something and he feels like he's hijacking the forum and he's too nice of a guy, so he starts retracting what he's saying. Larry, don't worry about it. Anyways, the forum Joe Roboto, who was in just about every forum. Jim Hatt was there mysteriously. Tom Collenborn did Jim Hatt's Desert USA. He wasn't really a big contributor at all to the Ron Feldman one. Ron and Jesse, I don't know if Josh ever posted or he had a posting handle, but that was Greg Davis posted in there, myself, Roger Newkirk, and I mean, a lot of people went by their names. I'm not going to give out their personal names, but there was a lot of people like Wiz, and but Dave Cook was in that one. God, I'm trying to remember who else. But Thomas Glover was in that one quite a bit. I think San Felice was. San Felice didn't post a lot because Jack doesn't like people disagreeing with, so he's not a forum guy. But Thomas Glover would post in there, Carlson would. But a lot of the main contributors were the Rendezvous. Well, that's how the Rendezvous started. Was from that group. It was Carlson, Greg Davis, Roger Newkirk, Harry Bascom, who I talked about earlier tonight, was Team Fever, was in there and part of that all. Cooper, Randy, and I didn't even realize I was one of the earliest people in there. When I looked at it, when we joined, and I was like, holy crap, I was in there really early. I thought the forum had been around. Joe became very big on that forum because Joe felt he needed that space. I think that was a little bit of a problem, is the arguing and the elbowing between several people, and that we didn't need to have a First Amendment forum. We didn't need all this other side bullshit. And I think we could have just tightened it down and told within ourselves, just policed ourselves and told some people. And yet people wanted to take sides, and they wanted to take sides and point to someone else, and that was a mistake. No one should have ever taken sides and pointed at someone else, which is what Randy and I did. We were just kind of like, hey, just get along, just cool your shit. But that didn't happen. People took sides, and then they started kind of breaking into their own camps. And some people wanted to be like the king, and there's no king. Guess what? You know what? People wanted to be the king, and there was one person that wanted to really do that, and Joe liked attention, and Joe liked to be the king killer. So he would do everything he could to really just get under people's skin, which anybody that knows him loves him. But yeah, he did it on purposeful, and it kind of like wiped things out for the first one, and then the second one, and then TreasureNet is now. And then you got to remember, guys are dying out. So sometimes the guys that put in some of the best stuff, I mean, they're just fading away. And one of the reasons I quit post, I used to post quite a bit in the Lost Dutchman Gold Mine, and then I posted up quite a bit in Peter Esposito's Lost Dutchman forum until that faded. But TreasureNet, I never really. By that point, I was so sick of people who know nothing, people who just have no reason. They're not. It's not a discussion or conversation of ideas, which is what the early ones really were. And when that ceased to be, and it became people just being, eh, I just was like, okay, I'll post something once in a while and see what happens. But it's hard to want to be involved with it at all. Who's going to be the guest speakers at this year's Rendezvous? You're the main guest speaker. You are our final guest speaker at the end of the night. It'll be the life of Hillbilly Bob. No, I'm going to announce that in the next couple of weeks or so. There's someone I'm waiting on to line up because we want to have the lineup through the day, and I'm waiting on a couple things to kind of find and set places, and then I start popping everybody in. Um, and I've kind of dropped some of the names and some of the people. Harry Bascom will be out to talk for short about a few things. Harry from Team Fever, I've invited him. Jason Fritz from Cracking the Code will be out. He wants to do a little slideshow or something. He said make sure we bring up the projector. He'll be out. The Forestry Service will be out again. Woody Walter will be out to show prospecting. We should have a morning, kind of do a morning hike, and then around 10 or 11 start some presentations and stuff. Those will run up till almost where we cook dinner, and then after dinner we will go down to the amphitheater, and then we'll have the evening program. So it should kind of work like that, and there will be a lot of different things. So there's a lot of moving parts. We'll see what there is. There was Stone Map Guy. Good afternoon, everybody there. Okay. Dick Home Guys. Jim. It's not so much that. It's usually seen as the Patrash Holmes group, not the Jim Bart group. The Patrash group, Thomas group, the Holmes group. That was usually, they kind of did that. There was not many Dick Holmes people. The Stone Map Guys, they weren't as prevalent either. They kind of like they would be they would do Lost Dutchman discussions, Dutch Hunter discussions, and leave the stone maps out of it. So it was much different. That was the shame, is everybody used to have conversations, so we could sit there, talk about our differences of opinions, our research and different stuff. Yes, Robert, that's going to be your favorite book. Um, the West, the West is really good for the Dutchman type stuff, and then um, the East is kind of the ranching, a lot of that history. The East Trails, I would like to read, and of course, Jack Sand has his books. And I didn't understand that. Awesome, thanks. So we will get it out there. Who's not going to be out there? Are you? Uh, you said you were cooking a steak Friday. No, yeah, I always cook steaks. How do you others cook their steaks? I don't know how everybody cooks. I cook them on charcoal. I do charcoal. Um, I cook everything on charcoal. I don't use propane for nothing, man. I like charcoal. So I like a nice open flame from charcoal. I would do wood and create my own charcoal, but I'm not gonna. I use the word wood for campfires and light. I don't use it for my cooking. I used to though. We used to, but yeah, there's not as much. I'm not gonna waste the wood on that. I'll waste the wood on the campfire. Hell no, hell no. But yes, I always have my steak on Friday night. Carl, I'm trying to figure out what Robert said. Um, Do they have grills at the Don's camp? No, they don't. You bring a grill, or you need to borrow someone's. Jack Carlson's book on the trails east and west. That's my next book. The East Trails I would like to read, and of course, okay, you want as his books. Yeah, I think once you read Carlson's, you're pretty good. Um, they don't have grills. We were talking about how the Superstition Mountains have energy that affects you to it. I think the Superstition Mountains affect people differently, like any place affects people differently. It's just how it draws you. I don't think it's an energy. I just think it is what it is. And once you get there, I kind of have a way of pointing out. Some people love the Grand Canyon because they love seeing the bigness of everything. Some people like going into places where they see the smallness of everything, different things. Different places kind of speak to you in that way. There's a lot of people spend a lot of years in the superstitions only in certain parts because that's where they feel at home. So I think it's that sort of thing. Sometimes people feel, man, this is so cool. You know, you cannot borrow my grill when I'm using it. That's going to be a problem. No, buy a cheap grill. They're 30, $40. You can get one of those little pop-up stand-up grills, carry along. Or you can even get a cheaper one for the ground. But there should be plenty of fires and stuff around there. But yeah, it's everybody has their grills, and usually everybody kind of like shares and stuff. It's just I will be cooking for myself and Trevor, and if I have my grills done and it's sitting there with coals, you're more than welcome to use it. But you're not going to slow my steak down for your steak. You're probably said it 100 times, but what are the dates for the run? 14th, 15th, and 16th of November. Hey Wayne, did you ever learn more about the helicopter of the First Creek Canyon near Lost Dutch? No, no, don't know nothing. Never's from that. And you hope sometimes when you're doing a story, you do the story, and then someone comes up and says, "I know the pilot of that. I know the people. I know the company that was contracting that." You hope that opens up something to the story, and it never does. That always bums me because I'm always like, "Man, really?" Because I wish I knew more. I'm gonna get out of here soon because I have to pick up pizza tonight. I got grocery pickup and pizza pickup, so we're coming to the end because we get to have a pizza with everything on it tonight. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so you're flying in, so we'll work something out. Yeah, but you gotta buy steak. Yeah, okay, well, we'll figure something out. Can I bring my travel trailer, and do I need a tunnel pass? You do not need a tunnel pass. You can bring the travel trailer. If you're adventurous, then bring it down the hill into the lower camp. Depends on, but you can park on the upper parking lot camp and the lower. Just go to Google or Earth or whatever, look at the setup of the camp. There is a lower camp. The only thing we ask is that people with horses stay in the upper camp. If you do bring horses, keep them in the upper camp because we don't want the poop and flies down in the lower camp. Watch out for the vampire bats. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I still don't know fucking if that was a real thing. I did so much research on vampire bats in Arizona. because I wanted to know, is that a real thing? I've never, because I wouldn't know a vampire bat from anything else. Most of us wouldn't know. Um, Someone will have for you, yeah. Someone will have something somewhere, so wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, and McDonald's isn't that far. Gardner Canyon, I hear that has placer gold. Gardner Canyon, where the hell is Gardner Canyon? Gardner Canyon? Okay, I don't know. This is like third water things that I'm like Gardner Canyon. Gardner Canyon. I'm trying to think if it's just spelled wrong or there's something wrong. Garden Canyon? No, that'd be Garden Valley. Gardner Canyon. There's not much gold in. I don't know. Is by Madera Southeast Tucson. Okay, that's it. I'm thinking of the Superstitions, man. This is Superstitions. We're not talking Tucson today. Just kidding. Do you know if there's a military base behind the Superstition Mountain? No. No, there's no military base, nothing like that. There's no UFOs, there's no nothing like that. Um, there's some couple suspicious things outside the area that you could talk about if you wanted to go that route. And someday we'll take a trip up Horse Mesa and show some of the installations there. But as far as the Superstition Mountains themselves are concerned, anyone that likes to play that game of underground UFO bases or military this or that and everything else, no, no. I think the military's involvement was in there as they talked. I think it's once they tried to do some training and work in there, and they were so beat up and so torn up that they just said, nope, not going to do that again. So, yeah, there's no military base or anything behind the military. The United States Navy worked with the Dons building the camp in Peralta Road, but that was it. Okay, so we're going to get on a wrap up here because we're just after 3. I need to pick up a grocery pickup, and then I need to, and I did a whistle there when I was talking, but I need to go out and pick up my pizzas because I'm looking forward to my pizzas tonight. I did break the edge off of my vegetarianism with the tacos, but I'm going to fully blow it off with sausage and pepperoni and all the other good kinds of meatses. Okay, I got my order in for my groceries. So I want everybody to have a great rest of the week. Catch Monday. Everybody catch a Monday. Monday should be a pretty cool one because it'll be kind of a historical value and something everybody can think about. We can talk about the next Friday, but there'll be some good material kind of for that. It won't be the necessarily normal story. You gained a subscriber. Oh, cool. No, just join us on Fridays. Catch our Monday show. Go through our stuff. There's always something. Thank God it's Friday, yes. But yeah, definitely. Always kind of join in and kind of see this stuff. It's kind of, I don't know, what's our subtitle? The No Bullshit Zone. But no, we try to keep it real. We try to keep it light for the most part. But thanks for subscribing. I appreciate that. I'm not one of those guys that goes out there and is trying to build the biggest YouTube channel in the world. I just like what I do, and I like the interaction I get with people. Great to hear from you, Wayne. Give Trevor a rough time for us. I don't see him that much. It's early in the year, so he's pretty busy, and right now he's working on his doctorate. So I'm kind of leaving him alone because I want him to do well and get that out. So that all of you can't just call him Trevor. You have to call him Dr. Trevor. That'll be funny. But anyways, everybody kind of enjoy it. Everybody have a great weekend. Try to stay out of the heat, stay in the pool, stay inside, stay indoors, whatever you do. Catch the Monday Chasing Legends. We'll see you next Friday to discuss that stuff from Monday. And until then, everybody have a great time. We'll catch you all back on the flip side.